morning, good morning, good morning. Try it again. Good morning, good morning, good morning.
Good morning.
Lazy mouth today a little bit. Open my mouth up all the way. Me.
Gotta work it on out.
Check 1 2 1 2.
Is this thing on?
First Sky Omaha Radio, First Sky Omaha in the morning.
In the morning.
Hey. Check. Time to get up, move your body. Whew, gotta wake up.
He tired, boss. Party too hard.
Boss, he tired.
Come on in, grab a seat.
Oh, yeah. Good morning. Welcome to a fresh edition of First Sky Omaha Radio, First Sky Omaha in the morning. Paul B, Buddi3 Da Gawd, all of you chat chimers, ghost listeners, and radio listeners out there.
What's happening, y'all?
On this Monday, June 5th, 2023. Day after my birthday. I'm tired, boss.
Yes. The full official day one of the new decade. Is that?
Yeah, man.
Is that how that works?
50.
The big 50, man. How was it, man? How you feeling? How's life?
I'm tired, boss. I'm tired. But no, I'm good. It was all good, man. I had a great weekend. Grown folk style. Didn't just did a whole bunch of eating, drinking, hanging out with the friends, fam. Yeah, man. Low key. It was a high key, low key weekend, really.
A little everywhere.
Yeah, kind of did a lot, but I did a lot, but it wasn't like going out partying kind of a lot. It was a whole bunch of going out to dinners and stopping by folks' house and that type of thing. So it was good.
Making your rounds.
Yeah, shout out to I got to go to dinner with Jonathan Benjamin Alvarado and Beth.
Hey,
mentoring big bro, big sis yesterday. So yeah, man, had a big steak dinner last night. It was great.
Okay, they're down in Texas, right?
They are, but they were here for something this weekend. So I'm glad I didn't miss them. As a matter of fact, shout out to Beth, who I know is listening on the radio channel. Appreciate you very much. I think she just gave me said great music this morning. Okay, so like the mix.
Okay.
Appreciate that. Mark Manner says good morning, happy birthday to you. I mean, you had one very recently too, right?
Hey, okay.
Yeah. In the club. Pop's in the house. He says good Monday morning, First Sky. And mad love from Las Vegas. Appreciate you, Pops.
There you go.
Put a post out of me and Pops when I was like 2 or 3 or 4 or somewhere around there. And I said, I bet you in this picture he didn't ever think he would have a 50-year-old son. And Pops wrote back, he was like, when I was 20 something in that picture, I didn't think I couldn't picture me being 50, let alone having a 50-year-old son.
Man.
Yeah, it's a trip.
Okay, so you and Pops not really that far in age?
He had me at 20.
Oh, okay.
Every Paul B. Allen had another Paul B. Allen at 20. I'm the one that stopped the cycle.
Oh, okay. He said the buck stops here.
But I appreciate it now, man, because like I said, it gives us a long time to be grown friends. You know what I mean? So,
man, it's a good way to put it. Way to put it.
Yep. Larry Keiser says, happy magnificent Monday. Good morning to you. Amy H. says, good morning. Julie Prince says, good morning fam.
Hey.
Coming on through. Wanda Lewis gives us a good morning. She's up early too in Facebook, YouTube. Appreciate you guys coming in on Facebook and YouTube. do us the favor, share the show on your page, and we can get as many people talking in here as we can. And I'm looking forward to today's show, man. There's no way that something as heavy as the Reader and El Perico shutting down without us having a conversation with John Heaston.
Oh yeah, definitely looking forward to that conversation. Definitely looking forward to that
Yeah,
conversation. Just kind of talk about the life, the legacy, the past, the present, the future.
man.
Yeah, got a lot to
Long
get
overdue to
into.
have Brother Heaston back for sure.
Man, it's been over a year, man. Can you believe it? Time flies.
Yeah, yeah, it's
Time
crazy.
flies. So yeah, definitely looking forward to that conversation. If I'm not mistaken, have Sister Jade on as well.
And yeah, man, Jade Rogers gonna be on House of Afro Capes and Curls in the house, talking about the Steampunk event coming up. So shout out to our partners over there at the House of Afro Capes and Curls. I can't wait till AfroCon again, man. It's such
Man,
such a great event every year. It's just it's
they just
better every
had
year.
their anime convention out here,
Oh, is that right?
MomoCon, here in Atlanta, man.
What's it
Yeah.
called?
MomoCon.
MomoCon. Okay.
Yeah. Very big shout out to like the anime, scene out here.
Hmm.
Very, Afrofuturist
Yes.
and very black nerd culture, if you will, quote unquote. So yeah, big shout out to everybody.
Oh wow, that's what's up, man. Yeah. All right then. We got some cats in the camp that's all about the anime
Oh yeah.
scene and all that. So
Man, they actually one of my favorite events just started up back out here. It's an event called Controllerize, and
hmm,
it's a event of basically all things black nerd culture. You got some DJs playing lo-fi. You got people walk around in their cosplay costumes. I actually finally saw somebody in the big red boots. I know you've been seeing that all on social media. I actually saw those in person, and they are as ridiculous as they seem on the phone. So a lot of cosplayers. I mean, you got the headphone parties. The people with the
yeah,
headphones that you can turn to different stations. People playing video games, coloring books, anime playing. Yeah, it's a good time, man. It's a good time.
that
There's
sounds
always like those types of events where I'm like, man, Omaha, you can do this, Omaha. We can do this. Omaha needs stuff like this.
that's what Jay's trying to do. So
Yeah, man.
we'll talk to her about her efforts there as she comes on. Miss Erica Felt in the chat said, "Good morning. The kids have been here just over a week, and I already got the head cold cooties. Bring them little dirty babies back in the house. See what happens." But I appreciate that you were, stay well, keep yourself
Yeah,
safe
that
for
part.
sure. But I'm glad to see you getting back in business for sure. I don't know if you need more kids, but we'll keep on putting the word out. Miss Erica Felt does, she watches the babies, got the play school, learning center, baby wrangler.
Baby
Spot.
Wrangler.
So yeah, definitely hit her up and send some kids her way too, man.
Yeah, man.
Getting back into business, appreciate that very much. We got a lot of chat chimers, man. I'm finding out that this got some stuff going on, as far as small business is concerned, and really side hustles and all kinds of stuff going on. I'm kind of anxious to keep talking to the chat chimers about
Yeah.
what they do professionally on the side, you know, all that good stuff.
Yeah.
Deb Neary's in the house. She says, "Good morning, happy Monday. Good morning to you. Appreciate you coming through this morning over
Okay.
here on
Okay.
YouTube."
Top of the morning to you.
Talked to Jonathan Benjamin Alvarado and his wife Beth, and they were telling me that they saw you speak somewhere recently and was very impressed. So
Okay.
yeah, it's you out there fighting the good fight still. Appreciate that very much.
Yeah. Also reminding us that it's Monday, a case of the Mondays, man. And
Yeah,
I'm along with you, man. I know you were celebrating over your birthday. I didn't really get into as many things over the weekend, but still feeling a little tired, man. Still can use a couple of winks. This is a good time to remind the people that we do only have a few weeks left in this
mm,
season. We will be out the 16th, man, just about 11 days from now. So yes, it's coming quickly. Looking forward to being able to sleep in a little bit, but we do have some things as always that we'll be working on over the break.
yeah,
So yeah, that's on the way.
yep.
Also on the way is that Bud Crawford fight. I am kind of curious. Did anybody get
Yeah,
out to that block party over the weekend? It looked like it was a good time, man.
yeah,
Bud doing it for the kids.
yeah, man. I'm excited about the fight actually. I'm hearing the more I hear about it, the more I'm like, wow. Yeah,
Man, it's supposed to be one of those ones like Thriller Manila. You know what I mean? Like it's supposed to be one of those ones, the fight of the decade. Sugar Ray Leonard or Roberto Duran type level.
dang. Okay,
Yeah,
that's what's
yeah.
up. They did a send off, so he's going off to go train for this fight, and they said he's gonna have to be in his peak, the best shape of his life for this one, because this is
I'm
gonna be
telling you,
gonna be a
it's one
tough.
of those ones. It's the clash of the titans, if you will, the two undisputed heavy. Well, not necessarily heavyweights, but I believe what he's a welterweight is his or middleweight is his
Has he
class.
moved up by now? Has he moved up now?
I think he's dancing between weight classes. I mean, he's
Okay.
been dominating long enough to to go up.
Yeah,
So, but yeah, this is like Tyson Holyfield.
man.
Any big fight that you could ever think of in your life, Mayweather.
Thriller vanilla.
Yeah, man. Like it's gonna be one of those. Crawford Spence is one of those ones, man. And it's actually happening. I think on the day that Native Omaha Day starts on the
Yeah.
29th. So it should be interesting. Should be
Yeah, we'll
interesting.
see who's gonna be in the parade.
Right.
Yeah. This Erica Phelps says definitely do most of these children here. She's talking about having getting more children in overhead her business there. She said most of these children are headed back to school in the fall. We need lots of great 2 to 6 year olds. Are there any great 2 to 6 year olds
No,
that don't
not
have
cool.
request cooties, that don't have frequent cooties? I mean, yeah, I hear that, man. Terrible twos. I've been hearing about terrible twos for a long time, though. If you were seriously brave to be going into business watching them terrible twos, so that's what's up. Appreciate you. The Facebook memories popped up yesterday with talk of your first Sky rap party. I'm ready for this next one. Yeah, man.
Okay.
Yeah, we definitely doing Chad Chimers kickback this time around. Rap party, party to celebrate what's the new season coming up. Six.
Yeah,
Gonna be
man.
gonna be lots of changes. I can tell you that. And one of the reasons is because we're on the phone like all day, every day, with everybody on what just happened, what just went down with the reader. I know a lot of people are coming on this morning to hear from John Heaston. Man, the ecosystem is in disrupt right now as far as alternative and nonprofit news is concerned.
Man, just the information ecosystem in
Man,
shambles.
straight upheaval with the shutting down of those two publications. So we'll definitely be talking about that and what's going to happen over the break and what's going to happen in season 6, and if there's going to be some new alliances, new team ups, what's going to happen with documenters, what's going to happen with everything, man.
Yeah, man.
Everything is yeah. So
And
we can't
and
have,
um and we're still trying to figure out how you're getting your news. Like, what about the future? Where is this going? How are you getting your news? How are you getting your information? Where are you going, especially now with the loss of these publications?
we'll leave those questions out there and continue to ask those questions because that's kind of the the kind of the direction we go is the direction we you go is where you go with all that. So let us know. We had a really interesting conversation the other day about just the situation about how we get this fragmented news. That's kind of how we get our news. It's this fragmented way. We see it on TikTok, we see it on Facebook, Instagram. We get a little whiff of some article somewhere and kind of automatically go into this. Okay, let me double check and see if this is real. And then go to your trusted sources and look up, see if that story is the same. And we do all these things in order to be able to get this information in. So, pay attention to how you do that and let us know. We definitely
Hmm.
want to hear from you how you entertain that, because there's things that we can do. We're a media company and we're talking about definitely putting more news pieces and things up in social media, if that's how we are all getting news here, and constantly making the changes needed. So it's an interesting subject for sure. It is News Monday. It's we're getting ready to start the show here. So, buddy, you want to run down a couple titles there on a couple things we're going to talk about? I know we already talked about talking to John Heaston.
Yeah, and on this News Monday, it's kind of going to be, I anticipate the dominating conversation of the day, so I'm definitely looking forward to that. But there are a few other things that we would like to work in if we can. Definitely talking about some of the dramas still lingering from the recently ended legislative sessions. There was actually a complaint filed against State Senator Megan Hunt in regards to her pursuit or really her contention with LB 574, again the bill that imposed restrictions on gender affirming care for minors. Apparently, Omaha area attorney has filed a complaint saying that there was a conflict of interest in this situation. Again, Senator Hunt's child is transgender, so we'll definitely look into that situation. And again, as Paul likes to call it, the great American drama. Yeah,
That's so
looking at
popular
was
on TV.
Yeah, man. Yeah, man. Looking at what's going on with that situation. Also, just kind of mentioned it. We'll definitely look into again the Bud Crawford send off over the weekend. If anybody was able to make it out to that, definitely would love to hear your take on that. Kind of saw some video and things like that, so it's definitely beautiful to see the community come out and support his champion, man, as he goes on to possibly prepare for the biggest fight of his career. Big shout out to Bomac, who's one of the head trainers at the gym, and really all of the community people who train at that gym. It really is a community staple, man. So big shout out to Bud Crawford and the whole camp putting on for the city.
Yeah, we'll talk about it for sure.
Yeah. Also, speaking of putting on for the city, shout out to Jared Hall, who is a North Omaha native and now making waves in the fashion industry. Actually, I've seen a lot of posts getting some love on social media. 3 a.m. Luxury, which is a luxury leather brand, is getting some love. So yeah, we talk about some good things happening in the area. Also, one of the largest North Omaha investments will be coming to the area very soon in the form of the North End Teleservices headquarters. A big shout out to Carmen Tapio, who's the president and CEO of North End Teleservices. Looks like there will be a $80 million investment and that's going into that building. So again, we'll talk about the development as we continue to look at again some of the development coming to the north side. So yeah, definitely love to hear how everyone feels about that situation. But of course, if there's anything that we're not talking about, as always, feel free to drop that into the chat. Let your mind be free. Let your voice be heard. Let the people know what's going on. But yeah, in the meantime, in between time, a little behind. So let's go ahead and get this show started. Paul B, Buddi3 Da Gawd, chat chimers, ghost listeners, everybody, let's go.
Let's do it. What up? What up? What up? Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Listening to First Sky Omaha Radio. First Sky Omaha in the morning.
In the morning.
Yeah. Paul B. The Dove, Buddi3 Da Gawd, all of you chat chimers, ghost listeners, radio listeners. Thanks for joining us on YouTube and Facebook. Do us a favor and share the show on your page so we can get as many people in the conversation as possible on this Monday, the 5th of June already in the middle of getting in the middle of the year here. So June is happening. It is upon us. It's going to get hot out very soon. So kind of appreciate that more than I appreciate getting cold out. So, that's a good thing. Yeah. But yeah, thanks for joining us. As you may know already from our headlines, we are expecting to have John Heaston on. Put some respect on his name, coming in and talking about the changes that are being made in nonprofit news right now. This is News Monday, so it's appropriate time to really talk about what's going to happen the state of news, man, and everything that's gonna happen there. So really appreciate him taking some time to come on and catch up. We're also going to have special guest Jade Rogers in from the House of Afro Capes and Curls, talk about some events coming up and all the stuff she got going on. Man, she's been out in L.A. and doing it big, really putting House of Afro Capes and Curls on the map in the country, and as far as the black nerd scene is concerned. So can't wait to talk to her as well. And like Buddy says, anything on your hearts and minds, we definitely want to talk to you out there in the chat. We really appreciate everybody that comes into the chat this morning with us and adds to the conversation. And just having a conversation in the chat is a new, strange thing. But I really appreciate how everybody is coming in and understands how we're trying to run this and be respectful to each other and so on. Speak as if we're speaking face to face. And really, that makes us have the best, most informative chats around, to be honest. So really appreciate the chat chimers and all the work you guys do. Tony Johnson in the chat said most of my news comes from the streets. Omaha news lacking on North Omaha. Man, let me know where let me know where on the streets you finding it, because that's what I need to know anyway. Brother Knight comes in. Good morning on YouTube, says Crawford is a welterweight. Okay.
I
I thought I heard some rumors about he was moving up in class in weight class, but I'm not sure.
I think that might be the next step after this. I mean, after he
After
fights
this
Spence,
fight,
there's nowhere
yeah,
else to go.
yeah. He said he's gonna kick. Oh, he's gonna kick Spence ass. Okay, and I like Spence. So
Yeah,
he okay. So we yeah. Let us know what you think's gonna happen with this fight too. I love to hear about that. It's interesting when you got a cat that's undefeated because you're always just like, when is going to be the day? When you know what I'm
mhm.
saying? It makes it more compelling than if if a guy was even with a guy who's losing all the time. You wonder when he's gonna win. The other way around,
The super underdog.
super underdog.
Man,
But it makes it more compelling when you got when you got a cat that has been undefeated for a long time.
hmm
You wondering, is this gonna be the one each time he gets up there?
yeah, and
Uh,
I think both cats are undefeated, and they both each have
yeah,
2 belts. So this is like the unifying, winner take all. Like this is the clash of the Titans, man. Like it
uh,
really is one of the biggest fights in decades.
we'll see. We'll see how it works out. Mark Manor said Omaha area crackpot. Who you talking about?
Yeah, I'm not quite
I
sure.
can't remember who we were talking about when he said it. Pop said maybe First Sky can find funding to start a First Sky news magazine and hire the excellent writers who are now available to keep doing what they are doing. Funny you should say that. We like I said, we've been talking. We've been talking. First of all, First Sky is expanding into some news anyway. That was already the plan. And now that a lot of these guys are freed up, it could be that we collab that way. Not quite ready for it yet, so I hope that they get other jobs in journalism until me
Mhm.
or they do some freelancing or something in the meantime. But yeah, we're definitely working on this is the other reason why we have this question out here. How do you get your news? Who's reading? Y'all read magazines, newspapers? Let us know. Like how do you get your news? All the forms of media. There's print, there's digital, TV, radio. How do you get your news? We have our access to all of these things,
Mhm.
and we're looking to expand. We're starting on the new website that's about to drop here pretty soon, and just going to have some original content there on the website first, and turn that into some digital products that you can see on Facebook, YouTube, everywhere else. But where else do you get your news? Where do you read long form news from? The kind of stuff that Chris Bowling was doing, and the team was doing for like the Disinvested series. Where do you see that? Do you read it online? Do you get do you get a link to it? How do you get your news? This is a good question. Marianne Williams says conflict of interest. Linehan has a child with dyslexia and brought a dyslexia bill. Everyone knows someone with cancer. Any bill regarding cancer would be a conflict of interest. Talking about
Yeah.
son being transgender. Yeah, that's interesting that they don't think that anybody would push anything that has to do with their family or somebody personal. I mean, they could say that about Brother McKinney and anybody else who's got people in
Anybody,
jail. They're trying to do criminal justice reform because they got family in jail. Like all of that.
anyone.
Marianne Williams gives us a good morning. Good morning to you. Brother Valaderas is in the house. Says good morning. Tony Johnson says hear a lot when I'm at barbershop. Yeah,
Okay,
we
yeah,
need, we need that barbershop news for real.
man.
I always thought about that, man. I always thought like that should be a beat. That should be a beat for real. Barbershops to me are kind of the closest thing to what it is that we do. We talk about
Hmm.
talk about the news, talk about the topics, and then discuss them. And everybody puts their opinions in, and we go back and forth and debate until we get to some kind of understanding. And yeah, this is barbershop style right here is what we got going on for real.
Okay, it kind of yeah, round table a little bit.
Yeah, a lot of wisdom in them barbershops, man, for
Oh
real.
yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah. It's a rite of passage.
Yep. Brother Knight in the chat said Bud talking about going to 154 to fight Carlo. He said he's gonna
Okay.
go up and wait to fight
Mm-hmm.
the next cat.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Okay. Mark Manor says Ed Begley, that attorney. Oh, okay. I know you talk about. He said or Dave. I mean, okay,
Yeah.
Dave Begley. All right. Online for Brother Valadares, newspaper for Brother Valadares. Old man 4411. Get you some cottonhead talk. I like that. Get you some cottonhead talk. I hear that.
mm-hmm.
Yeah, keep on letting us know about where you get your news for sure,
Yeah,
and
yeah, yeah. Love it.
continue to discuss that. Newspaper, huh? It's a long time since I hear anybody say the newspaper. Do you read the newspaper online or you get the actual paper?
That's a good
Yeah, let me
question.
know. I'm trying to think of the last time I read a newspaper, man. Well, I used to get the paper reader all the time because I just like reading it out of the paper. But um,
Mm. I
I
tell
don't
you
know the
what,
last time I got Omaha World Herald newspaper though.
one paper that I do read.
Okay, yeah, there you go.
Sometimes it's just to get the information.
I be going down there to get the paper and then end up getting the bean pie and then forgot all about the paper.
I came for the paper, left with the pie.
Hey, you got any more than papers? What about them pies though?
Oh
720,
man.
725. You believe in the concept of time, buddy? You want to jump into what we gonna jump into first? Let's figure that out.
Well, I mean, kind of people giving us a little anecdotes or a little information on this Senator Hunt situation, so we can just go ahead and dive into that and get that out the way.
All right, sounds good.
Yeah, man, just again, even after the legislative session has come to a close, we're still getting some drama, man. As Paul calls it, the what do you call the Great American Soap Opera?
Yeah, it's my favorite. It's the best stories on TV.
Man, and definitely never short of its own drama or controversy, if you will. And this latest chapter is again coming from Omaha attorney David Begley, who I'm wondering, is there any relation to Danny Begley? Does anyone know if there's any relation to Danny Begley? Let us know if you have that information. But yes, David Begley, who again is an Omaha-based attorney, apparently filed a complaint on March 24th, alleging that Senator Hunt and her son, who is transgender, had a financial stake in LB 574, which again, in part, imposed restrictions on gender-affirming care for minors. According to the statement, Begley argued that in order to fully transition, Senator Hunt's child would need medical services, which again were at stake with LB 574. However, Hunt and multiple doctors who provide gender affirming services have said this is untrue and gender transitions do not require medical care. Also, Senator Hunt responded saying, I'm happy the NADC saw the complaint for the frivolous political attack it was. What worries me is seeing an increase in these attacks on trans people in this country and the families who love them. If LB 574 were defeated, Begley said Hunt and her son had a quote unquote slightly more than average chance of receiving medical care, Medicaid coverage if they filed a lawsuit against the bill. Of course, that bill did pass. It was successful. So personally, I'm feeling like all of this is for naught, but it is very interesting. In conclusion of this article, Mr. Begley did say that she makes a statement that she'll go do anything for a child. Well, go to federal court, Senator Hunt. That's my recommendation to you. Kind of, tipping his nose at her, saying, sue the state. Again, LB 574 passed on a 33-15 vote. And once this goes into law, minors under the age of 19 will be prohibited from transition surgeries. And also, Chief in that same move, Chief Medical Officer Dr. Timothy Tesmer, was authorized to impose rules and regulations covering puberty blockers, hormone therapies for minors as well. So, again, very, very interesting. But to Paul's point earlier, this is kind of a reach, man. Like if this was the case, you could argue that anybody has a conflict of interest on any of the bills that they're pursuing, because you'll find that most senators do have some kind of anecdote, personal connection, family member who's dealing with this, some kind of direct connection to this issue, which probably why they became a senator in the first place.
Right. That's my point too. Is like there's a balance there. When I first started to understand what the senators are doing, I know they're representatives of certain areas, and so they come talk to their constituents, and they're supposed to be there, making laws and things like that that benefit what their constituents want. And then then I started watching it, and it seemed like what everybody was doing was just trying to put bills, out there with what they want personally. And then I realized, and then on further inspection, I realized that there's a balance there. So there is what they're aligned with, and it's also, it also has to do with what their constituents are aligned with, and with some of the bills that they try to push and pass are kind of a mix of both. because it's really hard to pass a bill anyway if you don't have any passion behind what it is that you're trying to do. So there's a lot of the most senators have a direct connection to everything that's out
Mhm.
there, but they're also still trying to do the work of speaking with their constituents and aligning things there too, and that has to do with, especially when they're making deals or playing that 3-dimensional chess we talk about by trying to help out other senators with their votes, and so they can get that in return, and all these things, man. There's a lot of things in place there, but one thing we can't pass by. It is a situation where a lot of the senators are in there who are very directly connected to some of the things that they're trying to push and pass. Um, but hopefully they align with their constituents too. A lot of them do.
Yeah.
But you can say that about everybody, man. They're talking about a lake, or they're talking about a passageway for water, or they're talking about, it's only when you start getting into like the voter ID bills and all these other things they got. You can see ideology in contrast to personal to what they're actually really passionate about changing in their areas.
Mm-hmm.
There's a big difference. I can see that on the floor all the time. Like what things are scripts. There's no passion behind it. They'll come and read something from the police department or something like that. There's no passion behind that. And then there's the things that they are directly connected to that they're very passionate about.
Mm.
And you
Yeah.
can say that about everything.
Right. It's kind of the nature of a representative, form of government. Like they're going to represent somebody in some interest at some point.
Most
Um,
definitely. Marianne Williams in the chat says, don't forget they added abortion restrictions to LB 574 after the abortion bill failed on its own.
Right, which is I'll also reiterate, we reported on Friday, which is why the ACLU is suing the state of Nebraska, saying that the tying of those two issues went against state law, which states that you can't conjoin issues on the same bill. So on one hand,
Mm.
abortion, the other hand, transgender affirming care, although it's still LGBTQIA rights and women's rights and bodily autonomy and things like that, still two different issues.
Hmm. So I didn't realize that was what the ACLU is trying to sue him for.
Yep.
Okay. Interesting stuff. Brother Valadero says the Nebraska legislators, for the first time in a long time, was highly partisan.
Man.
From what I understand, they've always kind of been that way, right? Isn't that the problem? They're supposed to be a unicameral. There's
Mm-hmm.
supposed to be no partisanism. I don't know how to say it. There's not supposed to be parties in this unicameral, but everything always falls along these party lines. It seems like
Mm-hmm.
to me. America must unite. I hear that. Tony Johnson says lobbyists took over this year. Really? How so? I didn't really hear too much about lobbyists, but the lobbyists are not on my radar so much. So maybe I might have missed that. Tell us about the lobbyists if you don't mind. I'd like to hear about that. Marion Williams says Nebraska legislature have been hyper partisan for a while now. That's what I've been thinking. I've been feeling that way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So yeah, it's interesting that they try to get her on that, but she could have turned that right around everybody.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. I kind of get what Valderas is saying. It says he says what I'm saying is it was like very in your eyes.
Mm.
Which I
Yeah.
can see that. I can see
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, it's out in the open. I think it was out in the open way more recently. I have heard that from other legislators. So he's saying they don't care no more, right? Yeah, what's the way some of these things have changed. Racists are speaking up. nobody tries to hide nothing no more like back in the day. Amy H. That's for a first in a long time. Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's been that way, but I get his point too. Yeah, it's really in your face right now for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Tony Johnson says, listening to sessions, most presentation on bills were scripted. Many presenting bills could not answer on own bill. Yeah, I saw that a couple of times. So that's what you're saying. Like lobbyists put that stuff together and gave them some talking points. Yeah, I did see that. Did hear that a few times for sure. So lobbyists behind that. It's interesting.
Yeah, I mean that could kind of go back to what some of the senators, Justin Wayne and Terrell McKinney put some respect on their name was saying about, certain senators reneging on promises and things like that. I could definitely see lobbyists being behind that, as far as, just money moves being made, man. Definitely got to always follow the money. So yeah, if you have any specific, organizations or lobbyists in general, that you might know of, to Brother Johnson. Let us know.
Absolutely. Speaking of which, Brother Johnson asked earlier, can you get a final call in Omaha? Yeah, most definitely. Matter of fact, we have a Chad Chimer, Brother Muhammad, that comes on that is always emailing the copies to us.
Mm-hmm.
So you can definitely find it in Omaha as
And
well.
I usually see the brothers out on like 33rd and Lake,
Yep.
right by the African American bookstore. They be right there on that corner by Salem, passing them
Hmm.
out.
And also 24th and Lake all the time.
Yep, 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 yep.
That's where I get my bean pies from. So
My oh my, those bean pies.
so I'm going down to get the final call, and then get down there. What would you like, brother? Do you got any bean pies, bro?
Yeah, but we need it. We need it. Like the information, and of course, we're talking about it later on with John. But yeah, we need as much information as we can get, man.
Tony Johnson said, "Look at the bills in other states, and their senators reading same almost verbatim." Whew.
Yeah, it's the same. I don't know if you've seen like some of the videos or social. It's the same for the news, man.
Yeah, we know that the media. That's what I'm saying. We know the news is doing it, but we always talk about this script that we call it a script, not knowing if there's an actual script. But
No,
sometimes it seems like there is.
no, it really is. It really is. I'm very aware that it's a real script. I mean, you just kind of look at how the Republican Party moves. Like it's they're very very tight lipped on everybody following rank, following suit. That good old script comes down the pipe, and you'll see the same rhetoric from Florida to Texas to Alabama to Nebraska to Missouri. You know,
Very true, man. Very true. Um, couple things stand out to me is when they were trying to pass LB 50, Brother Terrell McKinney, Senator McKinney and Senator Wayne, for this reform. They got everybody on board, and then all of a sudden, a couple senators stood up and started reading from an actual script, saying that they were representing the police union. After they had already agreed, and then got on the floor and did all that to oppose it. So that was kind of one of the big dramatic things that happened there during one of the sessions. It's interesting how that works. I just remember kept his head down, kept just reading. Then afterwards, Brother McKinney asked a question, and he said, "Do you believe blah blah blah?" And he was just like, "I'm not ready to answer that. Not ready." But didn't have any answers.
I mean, look at the CRT situation. You gotta know those are talking points. If you don't know what CRT is, then you can't really form an opinion. Therefore, you can't really speak on it. So if you don't know what it is, then you're speaking on something you don't know. Therefore, somebody had to tell you something. You don't just start speaking on something.
Yep. Yeah. Kimber Snipes gives us a good morning, y'all, on YouTube. Good morning to you. Also, Tony Johnson said more of us need to be present at sessions. Often, no more than a couple blacks there daily. That is also counting senators.
Yep.
Yeah. That's bottom line. Is now we know kind of next session we definitely gonna try to get some more action as far as getting people there in a big way.
Yeah. Start with the information.
Appreciate all your comments on those things and on these subjects that we're talking about right now. Interesting stuff. Let us know what you think about all the sessions if you've been watching. Do you think that the senators got conflict of interest going on because they push things that are personal, or do you think that's appropriate? Let us know. Stacey Jean in the house, what's happening? Says, yeah, everybody answers to somebody. Unfortunately, it's usually isn't their constituents, right? Brother Knight, they know what CRT means. Yeah, they pushing the script even though they know. That's for sure. Sounds good. Let's move on to the next topic before we get our special guests in and line those things up. What's next on the agenda, buddy?
Man, well, I kind of moved to some good news, talking about development in North Omaha. That's really been a big topic, of course, as we look through the sessions. One of the bills that we've been watching for, of course, is LB 531, 1024. But this isn't necessarily dealing with the bill, but it is dealing with development in North Omaha, talking about the investment of North Teleservices moving their headquarters to North Omaha. Actually, Nebraska's largest black-owned business is said to have a history making private investment in North Omaha. Of course, they've been actually talking about moving their headquarters to the North Omaha area for quite some time. But the big news is it's growing. Again, the original price tag was set around $40 million, but the plan has since grown to about $80 million. and the primary phase of one building. It's the largest private investment ever made in North Omaha, according to Tapia. She says so that 65 million to 80 million includes our primary phase one building, which is the mixed use retail. In addition to that, we are building 80 to 100 apartments that are on the site plan, and across the street we have plans for single family homes. So the whole project combined, North End Teleservices is of course one of the fastest growing, and as a recently mentioned, the largest black-owned business in the state of Nebraska, and actually one of the largest privately owned businesses in the country. Tapio points out that all the growth with all that will happen on the corner of 24th and Lake will change the community. Again, not only job opportunities, but also facilities for other businesses, and of course living spaces, which is definitely needed, like we've been talking about recently. Tapia also went on to say it is significant. It is significant in size, and we want it to be significant in size to transform this community in the way that it really needs it, to invest in the community the way that it really needs it. It's going to take a lot of investment, and we didn't want to do something small. It's also with purpose because, again, my business is growing, our business is growing, and we have to be able to accommodate that growth. Again, North End Teleservices will be moving to 24th and Lake. They say that there will be room for other businesses to move in. There will also be underground parking and a daycare. Tapia went on to say you can create an expectation of a better quality of life. We're helping to fulfill that expectation of a better quality of life, not just through jobs, but by placemaking and helping to create community and an economy in North Omaha, which is missing. So, again, very, very interesting. This, of course, is a private business making this move, so not necessarily ARPA funds. But yeah, again, very, very interesting that we're seeing this. We kind of talked about this. It's reminding me of like reports of like school districts around the country who are buying apartments for their employees and things like that. I'm expecting a lot of future North End Teleservice employees to be filling some of those units. So yeah, very interesting. But what are your thoughts?
Yeah, let us know in the chat what you think about this. Right off the bat, I'm remembering that Carmen Tapio was a part of a 3-woman crew of construction developers that got the bid to build those buildings over there on 24th and Lake.
Mm-hmm.
And that area that we're talking about is the what would you call that, the northeast corner. So that's where it was a business center at
Mm-hmm.
one point, and it was a Safeway before that, and they've cleared all that out, and they're making, and I believe they're building that building there. So she was part of that team, that the development team that got the bid for that, and the construction team that's going to build it. And so it's interesting to me that now the next news I get is that that's going to be their new headquarters. They're moving into it. And right now I think their headquarters is down on 24th and close to Cumming Street.
Okay.
I believe that's where they're housed right now. So, and they need a lot more room. So interesting. Amy H. Dot in the chat is saying the design of that building looks beautiful. I haven't seen it. Put it throw it in the chat there if you got a picture of it real
Okay.
quick and
Here you
check
go.
it out. So interesting development. Oh, Buddy got it. So interesting development of what's going to happen down there in the Deuce. Man, that is a big building.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's going to be huge.
You see several stories. It's gonna stretch pretty much the block.
Wow.
Looks like.
Interesting stuff. Somebody in the chat asked what the pay rate there is. I'm not sure. So what are their pay rates?
Good question.
Yep. And also this ties into some of the stuff that we've been talking about recently when it comes to what businesses can do to incentivize their employees, and
Mm-hmm.
whether or not they ought to have housing for them. Or build housing. One way to get some affordable housing is to have actual companies build housing for their employees. Perhaps they already have buses that they use to pick up their employees and and take their employees back. As you can see, there's going to be a daycare center in there, so that that's going to be something there'll be daycare in the neighborhood. I don't know if it'll just be for employers or not, but it sounds like they're trying to take care of them pretty well. But it does beg the question, what's the pay rate? Because I'd rather
Yeah.
have a higher pay rate than have a low pay rate and then have all these amenities that you got to depend on. So I'm not really sure what's up on that, but it'll be interesting. Amy H. Dot says, seems like there is some funding or assistance from Front Porch Investments. It'll be interesting to see how that works. Maybe good to have Miss Tapio on for sure.
Yeah, it's funny you say that. I'm actually on Front Porch Investments website right now because I'm trying to think. I felt like Ms. Tapio was a part of Front Porch Investments at a point, but I'm not sure. But yeah, I'm curious about that as well. What is the relationship between Front Porch Investments and this business? I feel like there was a link that was reported, but I personally maybe forgot. So that's definitely a good point. I'm curious to see what that is.
7:45. You believe in the concept of time. We have our special guest waiting in the wings. Right before we get to him, we're gonna jump in the chat a little bit. Black Zam 09 says, top of the morning, y'all. Happy belated birthday, Paul B. Thank you very much. Appreciate that. He said, will those apartments actually be affordable for the people that work there? All I can think is great, more shops and apartments. Yep. It's going to take up a big footprint in that corner as well, for sure.
Man,
Kimber Snipes says, but yeah, they need more room, and she treats her employees well and nurtures them from what I've been told.
Okay.
Yep. Tony Johnson says, amenities easy to write off for the business, for sure. Yeah, so it'd be interesting. Pop says, will it be across the street from the showcase? Yes. Huge footprint right across the street from the showcase, Pop. So that's exactly right. I'm really anxious to see how that corner looks. I don't know.
Yeah, not only the corner, but the traffic. Like, that's what I'm thinking of. Imagine how 80 to 100 people living now on that corner, just that corner, and it's seeming like not just living but staying. Like they're going to be working, sending their kids, possibly even shopping. Like there's going to be a large influx of people in traffic in that area, and I just wonder how it impact.
And speaking of how things impact, we got our special guest, Mr. John Heaston, in the house.
Hey.
Good morning to you, my brother. How you doing?
Doing all right. Good morning.
Good
morning. Thanks for having me.
Looking good.
Oh man, thanks for joining us.
Looking good. You got a crisp white shirt on this morning. You look like you're ready for business.
That's right.
Light and looking right.
Monday morning.
Indeed.
No case of the Mondays here, huh, John? I love it.
Yeah.
How you been, man? Health wise, how's everything going?
Yeah. Let's start there.
Not too bad, right? Like I'm able to travel. I'm able to do a bunch of things, but it's a chronic kind of thing. So there's lots of pills, and has its moments for sure.
Yeah.
But no, happy to be able to be out and about and have an immune system that can handle that.
That's good, man. Yeah.
Okay.
It's always a pleasure to see you out and about for sure. So I know you went through a lot last year, and every time we see you, we're like, oh man, it's like a relief. So I really, really appreciate you.
Like the pandemic never ended for me for a minute, right? Like,
man,
everybody's going out. I had to stay in longer. I was like a kid looking out the window,
peeking through the blind.
We probably should have all stayed in a little longer.
Yeah. Looking back.
Yeah, man. Well, I appreciate you coming on, man. For those of you that are in the chat and the Ghost listeners don't know, of course, this is the infamous John Heaston, who is the founder of so many different things in the city. It's ridiculous. But we're talking specifically today about the Reader in El Perico. This is something else. There was an announcement that just came out that you put out a few days ago saying that you were going to shut it down after 30 years printing. Is that
pretty close? Yeah.
Yeah. And it was the news that shook, that reverberated all through Omaha in a big way. I've been on the phone nonstop all day, every day on this subject, because it's like the Reader is such an institution and such a cornerstone of especially alternative news, nonprofit news in just a short time. Man, from Freedom Summer, from COVID on, how quickly you guys have changed the landscape with going from news about culture to big issues like the Disinvested series, bringing on writers that have dug deep, you've been battling all the other news outlets, man, with deep dive, hard hitting news, and that's, I feel like a lot of what we've all built has been centered around that. So sad to see you go. First of all, got to get your comments on that. Got to tell us what happened. What's going on? Tell us what you're thinking.
Well, I mean, I kind of put it out there in that letter. It's definitely a personal decision of where I want my life to be, where I think it needs to be. I think that there's actually a more vibrant local media system going on right now. This show, is perfect proof of that. And so, yeah, I just had to kind of slow things down. I'm still going to be, doing some work. We have an agency side. I'll be keeping some of that work and also hoping to do more media consulting work. Um, uh, helping with First Guy if and where I can.
Love it.
And some of the other great media sources, of course, Mundo. I'd spent some time in the Star in the past. And so I try not to look at this so much as, going to be a big loss. Is maybe it creates some space and room for some other good things going on to even get a little bit more space.
Okay.
Very optimistic outlook. We were definitely kind of feeling a little more doom and gloom once we heard the news. So it's good to hear that perspective.
Yeah, it kind of comes off that
you.
way. And I mean, there are some conversations or people have reached out that have said, "Hey, maybe there's something that could happen." And I'm having some of those conversations. I just didn't feel like, I've always felt like I'm kind of a steward of this thing in general, right? All of this creative talent, just trying to stitch it together so that we could put something out, and to keep that, running over all of this time. But if it's the right group, the right people, looks like it's got the right mix, I'm totally game, right? I'm not like, I've got to go deal with things and I got to shut this down because it can't be mine anymore. Or I can't do, all this other stuff that I want to do with it. So yeah, I mean, we'll see what happens. If nothing happens, it's okay because there's a lot of other great things going on, and hopefully things kind of flow that way and plug in that way. And I'll still hope to be here, cheering everybody on and helping out in all kinds of different ways than maybe I would have been contributing, that I'm doing right now.
I love that. Love that. So first off, because everybody has been calling me trying to be like, hey, can we plug me in with John? We need to figure out how we can save the paper. Everybody's on that tip. And at first, it sounded like that you didn't really want it. It was kind of decision made, but now you're saying it wasn't decision made. It was if there's the right people that in the right circumstances, you're willing to talk about that. And so tell us, what's the I'm feeling like then there has not been the right people to pass that along to, and you don't want it to get into the wrong hands. Is what we were kind of have been explaining to people. Can you reiterate that a little bit?
Yeah, so when I knew kind of where I needed to be at, I could have tried really, working my way through the community and talking to people and seeing, if there was an interest and who could do it. For better or for worse, it's kind of been built around my ability to drive revenues, which is, something I'm decent at. And we did that intentionally, right? Because that allowed us to kind of grow our journalism resources, earlier and sooner. And I have no regrets about any of that. But I think it is going to take a group that can appreciate the creative, that can appreciate the importance of journalism, and is going to need the flow or the stash to kind of float it and figure it out. It's a pretty fast changing landscape. I think we're just seeing the very tip of a lot of innovation for what's happening. You're all streaming in video and you're doing more video projects and, being able to kind of master the interplay of that shorter form, video, even longer form video with the written word, with the social, with the events, with the community outreach, right? I mean, there's so many possibilities. And so when I've kind of figured out where I was at and, realized I couldn't help lead that charge like I once could, it seemed better to me to kind of just put it out there and let people know, where I was at and the personal decision I had to make. But in that announcement, I did say, hey, there's an opportunity here, for the right folks.
Okay. Yeah.
And so that was always my intention. It just felt better to kind of take the Band-Aid off and just kind of put it out like it was, instead of trying to side talk, work some background, and then maybe things kind of started getting out. It has nothing to do with any particular story. I'm looking at chat.
We encourage you not to do that because you can get caught up looking at the chat. It's always
okay.
something.
Okay, good.
we'll come back and address some of the things in the chat. As a matter of fact, in the chat, people are already really giving you some flowers, man. Just talking about things like Sean McCarthy's in the chat right now saying, thank you for giving me my first post-college writing opportunity. Keep your health at the top of your priorities for sure. Same with me, man. I think the first time I ever was published was the Reader, the article in the Reader. Now that I think about it, Kimber Snipes in the chat says the Reader is the first outlet to hue light neighborhood associations and alliances in a consistent way, and I'm grateful. Bridget had even reached out a couple of months ago wanting to discuss NUSA. That's everybody's going to have these stories, man. Everybody has a story about how the Reader affected things and what El Perico did to unite the sides and all the things. So tell us about, what do you think about the holes now? If the Reader is the Reader shutting down, right off the top of my head, first of all, I'm feeling like there's not really an arts magazine. There's not, or an arts paper or a lot of art news, because even though you guys started doing some deep dive stuff, you guys also really cover the arts in a really comprehensive way. Do you feel like that's a hole that now is there because of the Reader being gone?
That was kind of my anticipation. I think that the watchdog, investigative, accountability, enterprise journalism that Chris Bowling and Bridget Fogarty have really just been nailing. Hopefully they stay as journalists here in town somewhere, somehow, right? And definitely kind of working on hoping that they want to do that and supporting that decision and trying to help make that possible, right? Like, that's a super high priority for me. The biggest, priority for me really is trying to make sure that this great team and our people are, into whatever their next jam needs to be, right? Carla Velasquez, the associate publisher at El Perico, has that journalism, but also that sales and kind of marketing kind of mix, right? Like kind of that true publisher, having a foot in both camps. Tylonda Sanders, runs some pretty intense account management for a pretty wide range of clients and has kind of been, point person on all of the Reader's advertising. So helping gather all of that together, sell it, put it together, right? So there's some really good folks. And I want to make sure that, that they're, land somewhere good. Right. So, I mean, I think that's kind of one of my, most immediate priorities. In terms of that said, right, like cultural coverage, because that's a whole nother team for us of just like dedicated freelancers, right? From Ryan Sirik in film, Sarah Locke, covering food. BJ on the blues scene,
Mark Manor on the music now.
Mark Manor, right? I got him back finally after I don't know how long, writing with us. I hope there's something, and I'm actually hearing some rumblings, some people, or at least I can say for sure one person has kind of dropped well, maybe there's room for a new culture thing here. I'm like, any way I can help, right? It doesn't have to be about what we did, in the past. It's all about what we can do moving forward. And so I hope that folks come together around that, right? There's some pretty strong artist collectives going on around here, right? From Culture House to Benson First Friday to, what's happening on Benton Street. I mean, that's just the tip of the iceberg, and I'm leaving so much out. But maybe that's kind of what the next evolution of some of this is, instead of waiting for the traditional media outlet, which as alternative as the Reader was, still operated as a traditional media outlet in a lot of ways. for a collective of artists to come together around, constructive criticism and, just getting the word out and sparking those conversations, like great art and culture always does. So I think I'm hopeful that we'll see some new stuff too.
That's what's
Even
up,
if
man.
old stuff kind of maybe hangs on in some way or takes off and thrives in some way.
Yeah.
Right? It's the diversity of that system that's going to matter the most.
Got it. Have you been in talks with Flatwater about absorbing some of the reporters, or you have any idea where some of these people are going that you're trying to help get into stay into journalism first of all?
Well, I have mad respect for what those guys are doing, and that's definitely kind of a great high energy fit. And our groups have already been collaborating and talking, right, quite a bit. So that would be definitely one of the most hopeful, obvious choices. We've talked a little bit about it. This all kind of dropped, last week because it was something that kind of sparked in me right around the year anniversary of my transplant, which was very late April. And then that was like a super heavy thought because I'd never ever entertained that thought in like 30 years. And, it's kind of like, this has been all I've done. It's kind of, it's all I knew, needed to talk with family, talk with people, people who've been mentors to me in business and in journalism and colleagues like that. And just, I did a lot of grieving kind of over that month of thinking about it, right? To try and get my head right where I could announce it and see how we can make this, as good a moment as we can be, right? Make it as listen, sometimes, I had this down for a really long time and would still love to think I had it down, and it's never been work for me. I just really enjoy what I do. So I never think about, I got to go do this. But man, life can turn on you sometimes and you got to refocus.
Yeah. One of the definitely sure things of life is change. So, I will say when we first heard the news, it was definitely some gloom and some worry. But I am excited to hear, the optimism in your voice and really the hopes that you have for the future of journalism in Omaha. Because again, we definitely feel like this was a blow. But you're saying, I guess I'm kind of curious because I hear what you're saying, but not fully seeing it. Like, there's us, there's the Star. Like, as far as the future of journalism in Omaha, what do you see?
Good question. Good question.
I would see more collaboration around the revenue models, right? So trying to get to sustainability, right? Like, I think that's specifically something I can try and lean into or help with or share.
And does that include nonprofit dollars as well? Is that a thing now that's a sustainable income that we count as as being towards sustainability?
You should. It's been pretty sustainable, but it kind of scares me, right? That it would only lean on that or lean on that too much,
Right.
And so I think it's really, really important we find a diverse revenue plan, right? Which is something we were figuring out with the agency work that we've been doing, but it could be stuff like that, right? I mean, like what we had started before. You guys kind of were taken off again in this last iteration, but what's that multimedia relationship look like, between two media entities? And, that's when we were working, for instance, when we were working together and you were handling all of that, social creation for us and the multimedia creation for us, right? I think we need to get real thoughtful about that because I think that there'll be more philanthropy for local media and journalism. I think we're just at kind of the start of that wave. But it's going to ebb and flow. And, we gotta take that wave to, see how far and what kind of infrastructure and foundation we can build. So when it comes out, we're still solid and we're still going. I think that there will be so that's the revenue side. I think there'll also be a lot more opportunities for um, collaborative journalism, right? Reporters that are working across, individual resources, but also shared resources, right? Reporters that might have specific beats, whether it's systemic inequities, criminal justice, education, but, are working in a tight flow, but high level, there's kind of a media collaboration and community engagement kind of collaboration to help drive, that coverage, of course, get it out. And, people are supported and recognized for helping to get the word out. Right. I think that's, it's particularly important for things like, I'm sure you guys see it all the time, right? Like, hey, you got to get the word out to our audience. And,
Right.
hey, we also have underwriting too. There's other opportunities we can, work on here. And you shouldn't have to ask for that, right? People should be coming and saying, hey, I want to underwrite that because I like that coverage. And, here's my stuff, dollars shouldn't mean ever coverage ever. But it should be a kind of a deeper relationship. And then the third thing I'd say, like future local media is going to be citizen journalism, right? It's going to be documentaries. It's why I believe in documentaries. It's why, I'm hoping this gives me a little bit of space to support that program a little bit better. And I think documentaries is just the start of an experiment of how we harness the community's ability to capture and share news and inform it.
Man, yeah. Personally, I'm very, very excited about that. As far as citizen journalism and the future of that, and I do think that that's kind of a revolutionary idea as far as journalism is concerned. There's been historically a certain perspective of journalism and what you have to go through to be a journalist. But it is, it's a right. It's the First Amendment as far as the freedom of speech and press. And to that point, as far as funding, this is an idea that I've kind of been toying with. But do you see a possibility or a future in possible state funding or government dollars towards? Again, this is a amendment. This is a right. This is a First Amendment right, something that is needed and not necessarily, as we've seen, bill that is self-sustainable. I mean, there's only so many members that can pay for a paper, and there's only so much even ad space that a paper could even have or a website could even have. There's only so much limits to what news outlets how they can fund themselves. So
well, I don't know how crazy it would be for us to learn from every advanced industrial nation where there's some form of state support for media. Knowing where I live, my hopes are not high.
Right. There's a concern.
But, for instance, there's a guy in New Jersey, a guy by the name of Chris Daggett, who has created a program with the state legislature in New Jersey to fund journalism innovation. They've got it's state funded. They got a community, kind of a community-based board that they're working on. This whole thing's getting infrastructure, but they're distributing, I don't know the exact number, but I think it's like $5-10 million, or maybe it's $1-2 million. It's millions every year right now to journalists, right? And the state of California just did a program, or this last legislature passed a program. I want to say it's 25 million. It's going to be going to journalists, and it's managed by the Cal Berkeley Journalism Department. I've often kind of thought that maybe the food and restaurant tax someday could support libraries and public information. And maybe we as library card holders, which if you live in the boundaries you can be, right? No other requirement. You just got to live. Then maybe every year you could say, hey, I want a slice of that fund to go to these 3 media outlets.
Wow.
Right. And so then it's kind of tied in with getting people plugged into the library. I think the connections between libraries and local media is another hugely untapped potential.
Agreed.
And so, I mean, these are all emerging models that I think could be pretty exciting. And we have a shot.
Two things are striking me right now about what you're talking about. Number one, you've been a person that has very inventive mind and spirit, and adventurous when it comes to figuring out what needs to be done to get that paper printed all this time. Even like with the forming of like Omaha Loco, all the businesses and all the things that you've done all this time, super inventive, man. Like you always got my mind sparking about what we can do and how we can enhance things, especially when it comes to like this, the financial model. You're right. There's so many good ideas out there. And the second thing that's hitting me too is remembering about your connection to news in the rest of the country, weekly papers, organizations. You have examples which are in the form of solutions to us from all these different states and all these different cities that have all this stuff going on. You've been doing that for a long time. Just to let people know, it's 8:10 right now. You're well into the second hour of First Guy Omaha in the morning. Yeah, we got John Heaston in the house, man. The legendary, the living legend, brother Heaston in the house, and we're talking about these things and actually feeling really good about the things that you're talking about, because it sounds to me like even though the paper's going away right now, and that's not even 100%. There's all the infrastructure that underneath that has built this community of news that still exists, and that really excited about the fact that your health is better and you feel more energetic, ready to help in different areas that need attention, like the Documenters program, like helping out with some of these ideas of getting to sustainability. I'm actually kind of excited about the fact that you're going to have some time to free up to use that creative mind of yours to go in here and really reshape what's happening with the news.
Yeah.
And I'm very excited about that. We've been asking people in the chat, how do you get your news? We're trying to figure out really like how do we consume? One of the things that we came up with was that news comes into us very fragmented all the time now. We see something on TikTok or we see something on Facebook. And then we kind of do this real natural thing of going to our trusted source to see if that thing is true. And then we find another fragment that says that that's true or not. And it's really interesting, like how we're forming our opinions. How do you, in your experience, and especially like with your connections all around the country, all these different cities, how do you see, what's your vision on how people get their news mostly? Is there different categories when it comes, because of weekly papers and stuff like that? Is there different categories? Do you think it's going all digital? What's your viewpoint on how people get news these days?
I think it's really scattered is how they get it now.
Mm-hmm. Scattered
because I don't think we've really fine-tuned a strong narrative model. I would say we fine-tuned overall towards maximizing eyeballs and impressions and the advertising dollars that we can get. The truth is that still to this day, and I don't see it changing too fast, it's a lot easier to make revenues on a print product than it is even really on a digital product. Unless you have some very specific kind of sponsor relationships established that are willing to go pretty big for you. When you do digital advertising, you are dumped into a global marketplace that right now values your content at maybe $1 to $2 to $3 per 1,000 impressions. Right now, I could go into this, and you could, I could, but the long story short is that major advertisers and brands are spending 12 to 15 to maybe more per $1,000 of impression. But the digital ad market is very murky. It's got a lot of players, and there's a whole, I think hundreds that are just taking a slice out. So that by the time it gets to the actual content producer, right, the local media, it's a $1 to $2, right? It's that big of an arbitrage is going on. Wow. And there's good folks that are working on trying to narrow that. And there's actually a dude from Omaha that's kind of in the front of a bunch of that. So I think that's going to be kind of an evolving place. But, there's also something to be said for being in print, being out there where people run into it. The whole thing about digital is unless you pay, it's hard to insert yourself into other conversations. When you put a paper out on the street, or, as you walk into a grocery store, you're stepping into a natural flow and and you're giving a chance of discovery, right? People can kind of discover something. That's a lot harder on online without, paying social media or, really building your email list and, having to do all those kinds of things, which are all, I think, important. But what I do think will really improve is the kind of the transition points. So it'll be much more seamless between online, offline, online, even between the channels, and more tailored to each segment, more tailored to even each person.
Right.
And I think that's where it'll go. And it's not always going to be the original stuff that you're doing all the time. It's going to be the stuff that's out there that you're connecting. Right. And that's really got to be, your role, because you see, you talk to a lot of people, you have a sense, you have a good network. When you hear something, you know where you can go to kind of get it double checked that just the average person can't. And that's going to be one of the biggest roles, I think, of local media in the future is, if we're talking about citizen journalism, yes, you want to be able to train people on authorship and, showing authority. Why would I trust this viewpoint? Why would I trust this video? And I think, in fact, it's technology that's going to drive that, right? Because there'll be so much fakes, going out there that people are going to start demanding it. They're not going to just trust something that comes from, anonymous. And so it's going to be important, those networks. One of the things that made me really kind of go like, oh, with this decision was somebody told me that they took a pretty big civic action because they felt like having something like the Reader around and El Perico around gave them cover or gave them permission, right? Like if things, they were stepping into kind of a big civic thing, and there was something around that might have their backs. Is kind of how I understood it.
Wow.
And so that's really important. It's like not something you ever can measure, but I think it's something that's very real. And I think to that though is that it's not just us, right? First Guy would have your back. Star, Mundo, Flatwater, all of them would. They might not, run up on issues like we do, but everybody's got a different role, and that role can expand and shift. So yeah, no, I think that it'll be a lot more dynamic. It'll be a lot more interactive. I think what you're doing is kind of on the front of it, right? Streaming video.
Yeah. But I think you hit a good point, especially now that we talk about AI a lot more, and this came up in a conversation that I had recently about I think there's a song with like Tupac and Biggie rapping over some Drake beat or something, and it's a song they never made, but the point is it's going to be a point where people can't really trust what they see and what they hear fully. So how do you know the information, or even the video or the audio that you might be seeing isn't AI generated and it is accurate? I think that's very, I don't have the answer, or not even really formulating a question, but I think you hit a very important point as far as the authenticity of the information that we're getting in this age of information, and even in people, as Paul saying, people getting information in so many fragmented ways. How will you verify things moving forward?
Well, that's what we were actually just talking about this recently when we brought this up before, and I always felt like that's the future of what we're doing too. Like we can be that source that they go and check. They go actually check with actual journalists who've done the deep dive, done the interviews, and all those things in order to really get the story, because we're never going to get in front of every Tom, Dick, and Harry with a phone that it can go out and just say this is what's happening and this is my opinion on it. That's going to happen first. We're never going to, breaking news is done. We're never going to like jump in front of that. But what we can do is come behind it and be able to be that trusted source that can verify that stuff. Is that? I see you shaking your head, John. Is that kind of what you're talking about here?
Yeah, and just having the tools to be able to look at it and evaluate it. I think that's already happening now. For a younger digital user, people more my age were like, if it's online, it's the truth.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
Wikipedia said so. Google said so. Right.
Right. Why would they lie? You know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. You know. But I think the more you're in it, the smarter you get with it.
Yeah.
And I'm hopeful that we'll see a lot more of that, because you're right. You're never going to be able to stop it. It's going to flood the zone. So the only thing that can really happen is people can learn how to sort it, and so they can know that there are some pretty trusted networks they can go to, that if it reaches a certain level, it will get sorted.
Right. Love it, man. Speaking of getting sorted, I want to switch gears real quick. We have a special guest waiting in the wings. We're going to bring her on in a few minutes, but I wanted to get with you on a couple things. Von Chapman in the chat a little earlier said the impact the reader had on me was from John's Aunt Maggie, who was as intuitive as John is in the community. So
my first investor. Well, my second investor after my parents, I guess.
Wow. So family who has been surrounding you and helping you all this time. For those of you that don't know, you've been very open about what's been going on with you physically and with your illness and the journey that you've been taking. And it got real hairy last year. Thought we might lose you. We have a very, very big opportunity right now that you've been doing all this work this whole year and you've recovered, and you still have your challenges, but you're here. And so I'm not going to pass this opportunity up. We're going to try to have you on like pretty regularly, talking about some of the things you've been doing all this time. You have an opportunity to talk about your legendary status of things that you have done in this community. You have an opportunity to talk about them now that would have, if we'd have lost you, it'd come up a different kind of way. So you're here and we're going to take advantage this time around.
Give them flowers while you can smell them,
man. And you gotta let people know, just to let everybody who's listening know, this brother has been instrumental in what it is that we're doing. He's had our back, and not just when we talk about this stuff. John's been a friend, and he's like a brother. And I'm so happy that you were bold enough to take the journey you did to get well. I'm glad that you're back, and we're not going to waste no more time. It's
all right.
It's time for us to talk about the things that you do and the things you're planning on doing and helping out with as well, like going forward, because I really feel like you're on the forefront of figuring out what's going on in the news, not just here in Omaha, but in the country.
Yeah, man.
Because of the things that you do in all these different cities in the length of time you've been in it, and that with that innovative mind and that entrepreneurial mind that you have to figure out how to make it work. Most people don't have both of those things. And I think you're one of the people that I idolize in that fact when I'm trying to do both. I'm trying to figure out how to sustain a creative endeavor. I think about what would John think on this subject? How would he figure this out? We start a whole new business. Let's start baking cookies so we can make sure that this magazine gets printed. Like, what do we got to do? You know what I'm saying?
Just don't do a restaurant delivery app. Hey, you got to come pick them up.
It was good while it lasted, bro. It was good while it lasted. I definitely took advantage. But even that, that it was an event. It was a venture that was a temporary venture, but it didn't even employed people. I mean, it did a lot for when it was up and running for the time being. But the biggest thing for me is it just showed me how to think outside the box when it comes to what it is that you're trying to do and how to make it happen. You got to think outside the box. Our next guest, Jade Rogers, is coming on. She's another one. Thinks outside.
She's great. The box. She's all over the place now.
All over the place.
National.
Yep.
That's so cool to see.
So, man, definitely going to have you back, and we'll definitely talk some more. And before you go, though, I just wanted to bring that out there. You got people in the chat that knew your family, knows your aunt. Your family has been very instrumental in helping you out. Your family and your friends. I've heard you have some speeches and some touching moments talking about your friends and family. And I don't know how much you want to say about it, but just like, I always love to hear words of encouragement about how we need to live alive with one another and really cherish the family time and how important family and deep friends are in order to just even survive these days. Anything you want to say something on that subject there without don't start crying on me now, because I'll start crying and then we'll just be on here crying.
Yeah, we got a lot to talk about.
Everybody got ugly face on the chat on the live stream.
Well, I think we all help each other bloom, right? That's what we're trying to do. And so, that sunshine, that water, that the right soil, it takes tendon from all of us. So, it's a lot more fun that way too.
Yeah. It's not. It don't feel like work.
Yeah.
It's like that.
That part.
Appreciate you, man.
Thanks, fellas.
Very much so. Thank you so much for coming on. We'll have you back soon, and let's go get some food and hang out a little bit.
Sounds good. Looking forward to it.
Yeah, man. Looking good, John. Thanks for coming to speak to us.
All right. We'll talk to you.
Peace.
My man, John Heaston. We'll take a quick break, come right back, man, and bring Jade Rogers in, man. I'm so happy to talk to her about some things she's got coming up. So definitely stay tuned. Once again, you're listening to First Sky Omaha Radio. First Sky Omaha in the morning. Yeah, Paul Beeee the Dub, Buddi3 Da Gawd. All of you, Chad Chimers, Ghost listeners, radio listeners, readers, El Perico readers.
All y'all.
We'll be right back. Welcome back. You're listening to First Sky Omaha Radio, First Sky Omaha in the morning. Yeah, Paul Beeee the Dub, Buddi3 Da Gawd, all of you chat chimers, ghost listeners, radio listeners, and ladies and gentlemen, here's our special guest coming on in. Miss Jade Rogers, the House of Afro Capes and Curls in the house. Good morning.
With the purple.
Good morning.
She matching our purple. Look at it.
Yeah.
You know what she doing around here?
I was like, I need my purple. You know, I'm in a new studio now, so.
Okay.
Where's
the new studio at?
In the same house, in a different room.
Got it. That's how I roll, just like that. I heard that.
Yes.
Well, it's not up and running yet, but it's coming.
That's what's up. Okay. I will say welcome to the show. For those of you who don't know, this is Jade Rogers. She is the founder and creator and the president and CEO and the executive director and the big boss and everything of House of Afro Capes and Curls. And if you don't know what that is, what's wrong with you?
What's wrong with you?
Afrocon. I'm talking about steampunk. I'm talking about what else you got going on? Game night. So many things happening that you got going on.
Black Friday.
Black Friday.
Yeah.
Books coming out on all these things. I'm loving it.
Yes.
Not to mention national exposure, waving the flag. Let them know we here. We gonna be here.
Yeah.
Making moves.
Tell us about that. Jump into that. Why you been on Good Morning America and all these national shows? And how can I be down is what I want to know.
You know, I don't really know. Somebody nominated me as a Marvel super fan, and I didn't know about it. Good Morning America. A guy from Good Morning America was calling me and leaving messages. I'm like, what is this? And it took like a third call, and I was like, "Oh, you're really from Good Morning?"
Oh, it's not a scam.
Like, oh, okay, what's going on? And so they told me that I was nominated Marvel super fan, and they did, they kept calling and asking questions, and he said it's not guaranteed. So I didn't think I was going to get it. I didn't think I was going to get it at all. So I'm just talking and talking about the house and talking about what we do, and a couple weeks go by and I don't hear anything. I was like, and then they call and say, okay, so we need you to get ready. It's like, oh God. Okay. So yeah, I went out to LA and I was there the day after the Oscars.
Mm.
Wow.
And on Good Morning America, the third hour, what you need to know. And they surprised me. They said it was a trivia segment. I didn't really know. I had no clue what was about to happen.
Mm.
I mean, I thought it was just a small thing. You know, they have people on and it's just a little thing, 5, 10 minutes, and then they
Mm.
move on to the next thing. They had been teeing it up the whole episode. I didn't know. And then we were at the very end and they said, well, we have a surprise for our guest. It was me and a guy named Tony Abdullah, who's out in Maryland or Virginia. And they said we were coming back for the world premiere of Guardians of the Galaxy 3.
Hey.
So we
Wow.
went back out to LA and walked the red carpet and met a few people.
Okay.
Few superstars.
Yeah. Subtle flex. Felt like a
few
superhero.
people.
Okay. First of all, how was the movie? I'm a big Guardians of the Galaxy fan. How was the movie?
The movie was actually really good. It
Okay.
was really good.
Did you cry?
I actually did.
Everybody who watches it that I've talked to, men and women, say they cry.
Really? It's a
You know,
tearjerker. Okay.
You wouldn't think that you would cry over a CG raccoon, but you do.
Oh, she spoiled it for us too.
Okay. Well, yeah. Well,
Spoiler
I
alert.
don't say what happens.
Oh, okay.
yeah.
Okay, all right, cool.
I'm still going to see it. I'm still looking
Yeah.
forward.
I did hear something was gonna happen to that little raccoon. We'll see what's up.
I mean, you hear his story, so this
Ah,
movie is really about
tearjerker.
his arc. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. What's up?
Dope. So just as a super fan, let's just be honest. How was that experience? Like, was that? Did it feel like full circle? Like, what was that for you?
I hang around a lot of theater people. That kind of spoiled me a little bit. It's like, oh, okay, stand over here. Okay, do that thing. Okay, all right, I got that. Like, it's a lot of hurry up and wait, and okay, we need you to walk and do that thing again. It's like, okay, cool. So but it was fun. It was an experience. It was cool to be in a space with a lot of people that are making the content that you love to watch. They're writing the scripts, they're directing, they're acting in it. So they were all in one place. So that was cool.
Just to back up a little bit with people who are in the chat, in the all the ghost listeners, all the chat chimers. I know that you probably already know this woman. She's been on before. She's in the community. But when I think of House of Afro Capes and Curls, I think of her as an innovator, a person who has created a space that was sorely needed in Omaha for people to be comfortable enough to do things like be black nerds that like Guardians of the Galaxy, that watch Star Wars, that watch Star Trek, so on and so forth. You already know how we are on that subject. But to actually be a person that brings people like that together to create safe spaces for them to be and do the things. That's some heavy work here in Omaha, in the middle of the country here, Omaha, Nebraska. It's heavy work. And so we get very excited when she gets like national attention like she's getting, because first of all, she's putting North Omaha on the map in a big way. And not only that, but she's being celebrated for creating these spaces. Everybody needs a safe space to be able to express themselves, not be threatened, not be scared to do that. And I love the way that you use all the things that you use. Parties, things that you get together, dress up stuff. You have a whole AfroCon is a whole conference. You know what I'm saying? That happens on a yearly basis. Everybody looks forward to, gets their costumes ready to come to. I love the fact that you hooked up with
Year 5 coming up.
Year 5.
Yeah.
Illuminarium was there last year when they hadn't even opened yet. We got to see some taste of that. A little man got to look at his first VR virtual reality glasses. I mean, it's science, it's science fiction, it's fandom, it's black people getting together and having a safe space to do all those things. And so I just want to remind people that's what we're dealing with here. We're dealing with anybody who does that. I see William King in the chat too. He got the 6th annual Father's Day Festival coming up. He's another brother that I feel like creates safe spaces for black folks to do certain things. He's making a safe space for fathers to get together, and he's been doing it 6 years. So anybody who is putting safe spaces for black folks to get together and do whatever they feel like doing, is all right with me. I feel like we do that here on the show, a safe space for Black folks to come here and talk about some of the things. So that's how we have a kindred spirit with her, and I really feel like I really love that you get your flowers. You get a lot of flowers right now, and I hope you continue to do that. You got so many things coming out. Tell us about the things you got coming. I don't even know where to start. Things you've been doing, things you've been coming, so many things, all the things.
So last year we so with Juneteenth being a national holiday, my question was, what does that mean for us now? Because it's been a holiday for us since it was created, and the circumstances under which it was created are not a 4th of July type of celebration.
Right.
Well
right.
said.
So I wanted to, so in knowing that it's a national holiday, but we should be honoring people that created this holiday, I wanted to do something for them. So I wanted to do something that is a Juneteenth celebration, but really looks backwards. And that's what the Juneteenth Steampunk Tea Party is. It allows us to look back at Black people after Reconstruction and the amazing things that they were doing, and honor and celebrate the spirit of portraiture as well. So merging that with steampunk and Victorian and Western themes is just the fun, but the core of it is still honoring and celebrating Black people and the amazing things that they were doing, the amazing effort in staying alive so that we are still here. And we're talking about inventors and activists and people surviving on a day-to-day basis in an era that it has overlapping terms. So I say the Victorian era, it's the same as the progressive era or the temperance era, or, it's all of these time periods, but we're looking at the 1870s to the 1910s. So that's what the Juneteenth Steampunk Tea Party is at its core, is a celebration of people, Black people, surviving and thriving during that time.
So interesting of a thing. When you got this thing, when you got the House of Afro Capes and Curls started, I know that we were heavy into Afrofuturism at the time, and there was a lot of things we were talking about envisioning Black folks in the future, and so it's super interesting right now that you're envisioning Black folks in the past,
Man,
and how they survived.
Well, but that's still Afrofuturism. You have to go back in order to go forward.
Wow.
So the House's 3 signature events are, I've committed to doing a Juneteenth celebration. It may not always be steampunk, although people have said that they want to continue that.
Yeah.
okay.
I wanted to do a Bridgerton ball this year, but I got vetoed. I put a community vote out there, and people overwhelmingly were like, no, steampunk. So going back, AfroCon is the present, and the Black to the Future Ball is the future. So the 3 things that we do are the core of Afrofuturism, because you have to go back in order to go forward.
And you have to be once upon a time called right now, and you have to be thinking about the future. So I love that. That's the kind of time we believe in right there. That's the period. That's the all of it happening at once.
Right.
So you got a whole bunch of things happening in between. I just ordered a book from a book from you that was a steampunk inspired. It was from the last steampunk event that you had, right? You had a major photographer there. Yeah, you put a beautiful book together. It was so good to see like brothers and sisters in Omaha that dressed up and with these really, really high quality photos of the thing posed. It was just beautiful. I wish I had some stuff to show right now, but we'll put some stuff in Friends of First Sky Omaha for people to check it out, and also where they can buy it from too. So I love that you do that. Is it going to be a regular staple now of having a book of the events happening?
Definitely a book for the Steampunk Tea Party, because the event itself, so there's tea, there's food, there's cakes and cookies and all of those things that you would have at a normal tea. There's a string quartet led by a Black string violinist, an Afro punk band, a board game parlor, a Black artist painting Victorian or steampunk type paintings live, activities for kids, and then the portraiture. So I mentioned portraiture as something that we honor the ancestors because of. They took portraits. Frederick Douglass took a lot of pictures, not because he was vain, although he may have been, but that was it was in an effort to, one, raise money for a movement, and two, to change the narrative of how Black people were seen. So we see a lot of portraits taken by Black people during this time period, and many of them we don't know their names anymore because the photographers' collections are in the hands of other people. The names attached to these photos have been lost, but we see tons, thousands of photos of Black people during this time period because they wanted to write their own story. This is how we want to be seen. So that's a huge part of our Tea Party. Last year we had custom artists created custom done backdrops for people to sit and pose in, and we had 3 professional photographers. This year we have 2 professional photographers and 1 intern, and portraits will be taken in this event as well. I plan on doing another book. I plan on making it bigger and also including the voices of people, because that's something that we missed last year. So what people think about Juneteenth, what do people think about this era? How do we honor the ancestors? So I want all of the voices of the community to be a part of this book as well, because what it does is it's not only a commemorative book of the event, but it's the voices of North Omaha in a whole different way. I took this book to Chicago. There was a Chicago Steampunk Expo, and there were only a handful of Black people there too. You would think there'd be more, but there were only a handful of Black people there too. And people were just blown away by the outfits that people wore. And for me to say only 4 people in this book had ever done steampunk before boggles the mind, that people were able to put things together in a unique way and not just like wearing costumes. That's the thing that I love about what we do. When we take on a persona, we take on that persona. It's not a costume. It's clothes that you costume in. So that's my spiel.
I love it.
Real world building. I love it.
I would go ahead.
Well, you kind of touched on something that Ariel's 402 in the chat is kind of reading my mind. He says, love the voices part. And it just kind of dawned on me that, you're adding to a conversation that we've been having as far as information. Where do people get their information? And not just specifically people, but specifically, quote unquote, Black people. Where do we get our information? Where are our voices being heard? Where can we send information? So I'm kind of curious, just your perspective as Afrofuturism. That's what it's all about. Us being seen, us being heard, us being present. Where do you feel Black voices are right now? Are we being heard? What do you feel like?
That's a many layered question.
Okay.
Because you just had John on, and to know that we may lose that as an outlet to know what's happening. One thing that I'm really concerned about is the silos of information. There's so much that goes on in this city, but where do we go to find that information?
Right.
And if we just had one place that we could know that, okay, what's happening this weekend? Let me look in here. I really think it should be the Omaha Star, but getting people together to make that happen, and I think that's going to be a longer process to make that a reality, because just knowing what's going on is a problem.
Yeah.
The voices, the things that we need in the community are there. The assets are there, but collecting everybody's voices is the issue so that everybody can hear it.
And even with the reader, that was a problem. It's hard to imagine what's going to happen, but maybe this will spark some real innovation about what will happen in that space as well. But I love the fact that you there's a communication aspect to what it is that you do too. You always are explaining to people what's going on with this, how they should be looking at it, what House of Afro Capes and Curls is, what is the reason behind it, and I tend to think, because of my personal experience with you, when you started talking about this steampunk thing, I thought, well, first of all, what is steampunk, and second of all, how do I apply it to myself? I have not been able to figure that out, or else I'd have been I'd have been trying to get into that first book with whatever I came up with. But I will say, even though you've done such a, you did tell me, you told me, and I kept looking. I was just like, I'm trying to figure out how I fit with this. So one of the things is that I had to come to an understanding about what that is. I think that you might even have even more participation if more Black folks knew what steampunk was and how it relates to us. So please, this is your opportunity. Give me a sell it to me again. Tell me what steampunk is. Why it's important that we adopt it. Is it just a style? Is it just like a style that we like, or is there a connection to Black history because of it?
So steampunk in its general form is a merging of Victorian themes and a subgenre of science fiction and fantasy.
Got it.
So it presupposes what would happen if we never got past the technology of steam. What would things look like? So that's the fantasy element of it. But you see it in lots of different places. And I always go to, it's not a great movie, but The Wild Wild West is one of the first depictions of steampunk as a genre. So steampunk is just a genre of science fiction.
Okay.
A beautiful portrayal of steampunk is Jingle Jangle.
I haven't seen that.
Oh my God, the movie on Netflix with all the Black people, Forrest Whitaker,
Jingle Jangle.
Felicia Rashad.
How did I miss this?
I gotta look it up.
It's on Netflix.
Buddy, have you heard of this?
Jingle Jangle. It's like a Christmas movie.
Oh yes. I have seen it. I have seen it.
Yes. Beautiful portrayal of what steampunk is and can be. And there are sub-genres of steampunk that Black people have sort of taken ownership of. And it can be called diesel funk, or so it's steam funk or diesel funk.
Now,
so
see, if you told me it was diesel funk, I might have been in the book. I'm just, like I said, is Victorian for the Victorianism part for me is like I'm trying to figure out what this is a good example of what you're talking about as far as like looking back to the past. So what were Black people doing in the Victorian age is like, how do we marry?
Frederick Douglass, Ida B. Wells.
This is the age you're talking
That's
about.
it.
So this reminds me of those are the times that like a lot of invention happened too. A lot of Black inventors were doing things too.
Absolutely.
Okay, now I'm tying it together. Okay.
Yes.
Steam.
Inventors, activists, newspapermen, like this is all that's happening at that time period. So those are the images that you can draw from. What were Black people wearing during this time? And then adds fantasy and sci-fi elements to it. I think Guillermo said, put some goggles on and you got it. Like, that's it.
Yep.
Like, literally. Steampunk can be just as simple as adding something metal to your outfit.
Okay.
So, and so the simple thing to do is goggles. A cool hat or a stovepipe hat or, anything like that is another level. But last year we had... the president and CEO of the Urban League wore a 3-piece, I think that was wool suit with a cane and a top hat. Like it doesn't have to be that. It just needs to be authentically you.
Yeah.
So I always say, so you can do the dress up part, you can do the Victorian part, but you can wear Western wear. You can wear think Indiana Jones. It's around the same time period. khakis, a khaki vest. Just it doesn't have to be complicated.
Got it.
It
Love
just
it.
needs to be fun.
Now, all 3 events are dress up events.
AfroCon, you can dress up, and the Black to the Future. We're not doing the Black to the Future this year. Hopefully, that will come back next year. But yes, they're all costume themed.
I love it, and that's a big part of what it is that you do too. It's kind of creating another world, and allowing people to kind of lose themselves in that world and together, like I said, in a safe space. I love the concept of the idea. You've been doing it 5 years now. Do you think has it picked up some funk, some steam funk? Has it?
Oh, so I remember somebody told me that nobody was going to dress up for the Black to the Future ball.
Who said that?
I don't know who said that. Who that say who that when I say who that? But people did dress up. And there were a few people that dressed up. Well, there were more than a few people that dressed up, but it was still more people didn't. The Steampunk Tea Party was the first time that we had an event that more people were in costume dressed than not.
Wow.
So one person said that when they were walking down the street, they felt a little self-conscious because, it's Juneteenth on 24th Street. It's hot, but also they're walking down the street in a steampunk outfit. But when they opened up the door, it was like, oh, yes, this is where I'm supposed to be.
Wow.
So everything that I do revolves around 2 things: history and play. The 2 things that we need to survive. We need to know where we come from in order to know where we're going. And we have to have opportunities to play and get outside of our heads, our space, to keep going in these places that we live.
Wow.
And play, we deserve play. I was just watching a documentary on the Warner Brothers, conglomerate, and they were talking about the Big Bang Theory and how that opened the doors for how nerds were seen and this and highlighting this culture of nerddom.
The show, Big Bang Theory.
Yeah, the television show Big Bang Theory. And my first question was, how many Black people were in that show? Like, I didn't watch the show regularly because there were no Black people regularly on the show. So then again, that's a very recent space. You have a bunch of nerds, none of any Black or brown color represented. But those are the nerds that are accepted. And we still, as nerds in certain spaces, are questioned. The Little Mermaid just came out.
It's an issue.
Because we're not supposed to be in these spaces. It's not for us. That's why we have to make space for ourselves. And all of our friends can come along because we are inclusive people. But we have to make it a safe space still.
Wow. That's heavy. We're going to leave it there. But before we go, please talk to us about the event that you have coming up.
Details.
So the Juneteenth Steampunk Tea Party is this Saturday, June 10th, from 3 to 7 p.m. at Noma on 24th Street, formerly Love's Jazz. And
Mama called we call Love's Jazz.
Because people are like, what is that? It used to be Love's Jazz. And tickets are available online at afroscapescurls.com.
Love it.
There you go.
Look at Von Chapman. Von Chapman said Omaha now has its own Shonda Rhimes. Bridgerton meets Black to the Future. Outstanding.
Hey, I'm here for it. Whenever that you get the green light from the Bridgerton and you get some support, I'm here for it. I'll be there.
Well, I will say May 20th. So there's a woman in Oklahoma that started Black Fae Day, which is a celebration of Blacks in fantasy spaces. So mermaids, elves, nymphs, fairies.
That's what Fae Day is about.
Yes. And we talked to her during virtual AfroCon in 2021. And I told her then I want to do something that represents what you're doing here. And so last year I knew of two people that dressed up for Black Fae Day. This year we got together and the house did a small private event because I didn't know how many people are going to actually dress up as a fairy or a nymph or an elf or a mermaid. We had 25 people that came out in full costume. So we'll put those pictures out too.
Wow.
That because that is also just an opportunity to play. How many people have wanted to be immersed in these worlds that we saw when we were young or that we're still seeing? You want to be able to explore and not be told that that's not for you because there are no Black faces in that space.
Well, now we got a Black Little Mermaid, so next year I'm sure you're gonna get about 12 of those.
Yeah.
Little girls. Thank you so much for joining us. I will put your event up on Friends of First Sky Omaha and make sure everybody goes to check it out. And just to let everybody know who's listening too, if you don't dress up, you still can come. You don't have to dress up. If dip your toe in, put a little
step into the world.
Step into the world a little bit, check it out. And there's, as you can see, she's been very consistent with events for the last 5 years. Everybody says you ain't nothing to do in Omaha. There's plenty of diverse things to do around if you're looking at it. And I think you're right. We'll leave it on that communication tip about how it is that we can consolidate all these events so you can know what's going on and talk more about what's going on. Maybe First Sky Omaha will extend the haps and things that we got going on over here so we can try to do some more of that and be a part of the solution there. But man, anytime you got something going on, we're always going to talk about that and big that up. So we appreciate you very much.
You.
And I'm still working on us doing the Wiz in October. So I'll come back and talk about it. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you so much. Good to see you. Thanks for what you
now get your costume.
I'm gonna be the mean old lion if we do it. I'm gonna do
the what?
Lion.
No. I'm talking about for the steampunk t-shirt. Get your ticket.
I don't know, man.
Get your ticket, Paul. Get your ticket and get your outfit.
Get my ticket. I don't know if I'm gonna wear a vest and the top hat, but we'll see. We'll see what's happening.
I get some ideas for you, Paul.
Okay.
What's the movie that came out on Netflix with the Black Western?
Oh, Harder They Fall?
Yes, that's also a reference point.
See? Come on, man.
No, we're never in the Cowboys either. We'll figure something out. We'll figure something out.
Yeah. Well,
you already when you said steampunk, then I was like, okay. Now I'm thinking a little bit about it.
See.
There you go.
Yeah,
steampunk, diesel funk. You got it.
Diesel funk is a good name for a band. We had to figure that out. Sounds good. Thank you so much. Appreciate you coming on. Always.
Thank you.
You have a good one. You have a good day. Take care of yourself.
You too.
Peace. All right. I love it. Jade, House of Afro Capes and Curls. Definitely check her out. Game nights, events, as you can see, all kinds of really different things going on. And safe space. More importantly, safe space.
That part.
And communication. So love it. It is 8:58 already. We at the end of the show. It is a Monday. We don't got very many haps going on, so I'm not going to really get into it except for the Juneteenth celebration that is coming up. Mark your calendars there for June 17th. Lots going on there at the Malcolm X Memorial Foundation, the Malcolm X Outside Event Plaza. I finally found that flyer that has all the information about the arts and crafts, carnival games, family fun, free food that goes on from 12 to 5. And you can go to OmahaFreedomFestival.com, get your tickets. Actually, this is a free event. You can go there and get some information about what's going on that day, because later on that night will be the place that you do need tickets for. Music Soul Child, Life Jennings, Anjali, and Timeless will be at the Omaha Freedom Festival, again, on the grounds of the Malcolm X Memorial Foundation, live from Malcolm X Memorial Outside Plaza. It's going down. Definitely check that out and get your tickets for that. Like I said, you can come out and do some family things and then take the kids over to grandma's house and then come back out and get your soul music on. So definitely check that out if you get a chance. Also, shout out to William King. We bossing with the King. Came bossing with us this morning. Really appreciate you. He got In Vogue coming out, man. 6th Annual Father's Day Festival, celebration of fatherhood, featuring Grammy group In Vogue, legendary Melissa Morgan, and special guests on June the 18th. Can't wait, man. I've never seen In Vogue in concert, and I'm kind of
Mm.
anxious to see. So, yeah, definitely check that out. Comedian Joshua L. Stupel is going to be hosting, which I love. DJ Reggie C is going to be representing on the ones and twos. It's going down at the Orpheum Theater on June 18th. So mark your calendars for that. Get your tickets early for that, actually, if you can. Just go to ticketomaha.com and check out A Celebration of Fatherhood, the 6th annual Father's Day Festival going down. Omaha Community Broadcasting presents. So shout out to William King for putting that together and working on the 6th, man. Time is flying. This is already the 6th celebration of fatherhood that's going on. So
celebration.
It's a celebration. Shout out and thanks to John Heaston for coming on through today, man. It was really great to talk to him. I can't wait to continue the conversation with him. Now that he's going to have a little bit more time to be able to come on to the show from time to time. Man, can you imagine the resource, the source of information that we'll be able to tap into just to have him on regularly? Really appreciate that very much, man. So it's a shout out. And it is 9:00 now, so let's go ahead and get out of here on time, close to as on time as we can. Buddy, you got some words for the people?
Yeah, man, definitely big shout out, of course, to John for taking the time to speak with us, and Jade for taking the time to let us know what's going on in her world. So yeah, big shout out to the guests, of course. Big shout out to all of you, the chat chimers, for definitely letting your mind be free, letting your voice be heard. A lot of good conversations. Definitely those of you who answered the question, how you get your information. We appreciate your input. We're still looking out. So yeah, if you have any ideas or any input on that, feel free to drop that into the chat or visit us on Friends of First Guy Omaha. We're always looking for that. But yeah, man, just about a week and a half left. Again, about 5 episodes left in the season. It's coming to a quick stop, but we definitely appreciate all of you. And yeah, looking forward to being back, man. So in the meantime, in between time, until next time, take it easy. Paul B.
Yo.
Take it away.
Man, shout out to Gwen Easter. She said, today my organization, Safe Haven Community Center, celebrates 24 years of service in North Omaha community and surrounding areas. So shout out to you for that. Working really hard for several decades here. Really appreciate all your hard work there, and congratulations on your 24th year. That's what's up. We want to also, Brother Knight saying the term cowboy originates from black cattle herders. Right. So thanks for the reminder on that for sure. Because you grew up watching westerns and stuff like that. And you're like, I don't know if I relate to the cowboys here on these movies. But you're right. It all gets taken from black
until Harder They Fall comes out. Those are real people,
real cats.
Yeah.
What was his name? Bass. What was that one sheriff's name? I can't remember his name now. Yeah, but anyway, so interesting facts there. It usually always comes from us. I'm just going, I'm sorry, that's just how it is. But Pop says, another wonderful show. Thank you. See you all Wednesday. Brother Valderda says, awesome show, man. Appreciate you.
Thank you.
Mama God said hi earlier. Didn't get to say hi to her. So
my Dukes.
Yeah, what's up? She said, Boss CD from Artist repping herself while out this weekend. I referred her to you guys to learn more about various resources for artists and community. All right, appreciate that. Yeah, thank you. I'm glad somebody's out there really really pushing their art that way, man. Still slanging them out the trunk. I love that.
Man,
that's what's up. Great week, First Sky fam. Appreciate you, Mama God. Appreciate everybody that's come through, especially the Omaha tribe elders who allow us to speak, to be on this land and speak while we're here. And shout out to you, our elders, for allowing us to speak before you. And also shout out to the chat chimers for allowing us to speak with you. And thanks for everybody who's joined into the chat today and provided some great conversation and information and great questions. And really appreciate that. Keep in mind this week, see how it is. Pay close attention to how it is you take in information, how you get your news, all that good stuff. Really appreciate if you guys would do that and relay that back to us and figure out what changes we're going to make. Stay tuned for the Chat Chimers Kickback dates that will be coming up here pretty soon. We'll be figuring that out, and we'll let you know on that. Always check on Friends of First Sky Omaha, which is kind of where the conversation is supposed to be continuing while we're not live, and so you can always drop information there. And thanks to a lot of people who've been dropping news articles and things that we can discuss and talk about. And I appreciate everybody that's on there to stay respectful to each other. This is not a place to kind of preach or to argue to go through real negative talk back and forth. It is a place that we can respectfully have some conversation with each other and try to get on the same page. And we'll continue to do that. So Bass Reeves, that's what I was thinking of.
Yep, Bass Reeves.
Yep. The original Lone Ranger. That's interesting, man. Yeah, that's what's up. So anyway, yeah, we're going to get out of here, but thank you for everybody who is joining us. Remember, Wednesday we'll be talking to Precious McKesson and Kimra Snipes. Put some respect on their names. And so, yeah, join us on the Wednesday show. I think we also got another special guest coming on Wednesday as well. We're trying to pack them in here before this last few weeks here of the season. And we'll be looking, we still got feelers out there for some other people we've been talking about all season long to talk to. Like Brother Ricky Smith, or we're going to continue to try to get him on, and I believe we're going to have Willie Barney on before this season is over as well. So definitely get your questions ready for these folks, so we can have some lively conversation, and we'll be looking forward to it. So thank you very much. Black Dynamite Diesel Funk. I can hear it. I already hear the horn section. It's going down.
Real steamy.
real funky, real steamy. It's going down. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you Wednesday. Take care of yourself. Peace.
By the way, Vanguard.